So first, okay, welcome everybody to the Smartbuild webinar for release 1.100. I'm Keith, I'm the president of Smartbuild. Sean McFeely, our product manager, will be the whole idea of the format for today. I like to go over this because although we got people who've been coming for years and years, love to have the regular attendees, but we also will get new customers as we move along, as we progress. And just for overview, so for people who know, just kind of reminder, this is our standard process, and something I believe our customers have grown to love is that we have a nonstop effort to improve the software. And over the years, my commitment to the industry is that we will apply resource. That's the reason we've become a dominant factor in this market, the markets that we're in, is because we do apply continual resource. And the vast bulk of what we do at Smartbuild is not sales and marketing. It's not that. It's not administrative. It's this effort to develop software to better the system for your use. So we value your input. We encourage all customers to make enhancement requests, and you can bring them in anytime just by calling any one of our team members. And a reminder too, especially for new customers, because it's surprising how many people call me for technical support, and I'm the last person on our team to really go into technical depth. So just a reminder, when you're running the software, if you have questions or you want to make suggestions, you just hit the support or the help button on the design screen, and you can call that number or submit your comments or questions. Okay. And we encourage you to do that because we decide what to program based on the priorities that our customers enunciate to us. Okay. So anyway, I think that's probably enough of an introduction. Let's get to the important stuff here. I'll hand it over to Sean, and I hope you guys like what you see.
All right, thank you, Keith. Okay, so before we get into the new stuff, I'm going to start off with some stuff we're actually working on right now that will come out in the next release. Um, so we are working on some speed improvements. We are working on a very large technical kind of update in the background. So those things are happening as we speak in the background as well. We are working on some output improvements also. And next release, you will see some improvements to some of the layouts, improving the dimensions, some of the text, adding a door and window schedule. So those things are happening in the background, and you'll see some of that next time. Um, so I just wanted to start off this time with what's coming up next. Just a couple little things there. But now I'll shift over into this current release, which you will see I'm working on the beta site. And that means this is not going to be available for you right now on your day-to-day working site, but it should be released early next week, is what we're thinking. Monday evening, possibly Tuesday evening. We're going to hold on to this for a few more days and do some more testing on it. So this will be coming soon. You don't have it right now. You can go up to the beta site and basically you just put beta in front of the address that you typically go to, and you can put in your credentials and you can log into this beta site just like you can your regular site. Just be really careful, realize it is beta. Anything you do there is not going to be saved. It's not going to be part of your production environment. It's really just to kind of test, but you can go up on the beta. You can mess around with this if you want. You could check and make sure that things look good for you. That does help us. We have a lot of different types of customers who do a lot of different things, and it's hard for us to test everything, but we do our best. But if you do get up there, that would be helpful for you. It's helpful for us. If you have any questions on that, just let us know. So this will be coming out probably early next week. Okay, so having said all that, we'll jump into the new features. And right now I am in the setup wizard, so that is going to be in the settings. Could do a couple things here in the settings and then we'll jump into a job and demonstrate some of these things in a job itself. So I'm in the setup wizard here. The first place I'm going to go are the post assemblies. And this is pretty new feature. I guess it's been a couple releases that we've had the post assemblies. And there is a video. I'm not going to get into the post assemblies too deeply. There is a video that Broyden did that was sent out in an email, and it's also up on the YouTube page. So you can get into more depth about what the post assemblies do. Um, but basically, you can automate a bunch of different things just using your primary post material. So you can pick a post material, and the foundation can come along with that. And you can also add in any sort of additional materials from where the roof connects all the way down basically to the earth. And anything in between, you can automate those materials and the foundation just by picking your a post assembly for your post material. And these also can tie into the span tables, which we'll look at here in a little bit. But there are some new things here. And so I'll point those out and then we'll get into the job and you'll see how these work. And then again, for more detail, there is a full video on the post assemblies. But as you can see, I have one here that this is really kind of geared around a permacolumn type product. And this one is for a 3-ply 2x6 nail lamb kind of product. So I have my primary post material, and then this is the name of the assembly here, which gets into what's involved with this particular permacolumn type of assembly. So I do have a permacolumn that's going to be my lower post. And when we get into the job, you'll see that there is actually a permacolumn. And if I open this one up, it's going to be a 5-foot length. There is a specific material for the permacolumn. And this is going to be the lower post. And so it is kind of a multi-part. You can do multi-part posts here as well. You don't have to, but you can. And I have some uplift materials. And I have this set up to where if I pick an optional hold down for my foundation uplift, then it is going to give me this optional hold down material, and I'm just going to have one of those. So I have a few details here, a couple different uplift things. I do have a clip at the top of the post that I'm just including here. I have some labor coming in here, and the one I really wanted to talk about is this one here down at the bottom. So one of the new things that we've added in here is the ability to trigger these materials to come in based on special conditions, which we've had before, but what is new is that the usage is a new special condition that you can use. And so the usage is going to be different types of, well, for posts specifically, it could be your corner post, your jam post, and that's right or left post, or just your typical post. And this is for right now, it's only for post. So you can do some different things. You can add different materials to your post assemblies with a special condition of the type of post that you're using. And really, the most probably important way to use this is for the corner post. And this gets a little bit difficult to work with just because we don't have just one usage for corner post. We have a left and a right corner post, which is oriented on the wall itself. But the way you probably want to set this up is really to get all corner post. You want to put in the left corner post and you want to put in the right corner post. And you want to use this any of. So you can do all of, and that's just going to mean that this would have to be left and right corner post in order for this to be applied to the post. which doesn't exactly make sense because you're not going to end up with a corner post that's both left and right. But just the way that this is set up in the code, we kind of had to set it up this way. So you want to use any of, and you want to use left and right. And so what this is saying is when I select this post assembly for my 3-ply 2x6 with this permacolumn product, it's going to go and look and say, well, if the usage is left or right corner post, then I'm going to add in this corner connector. I set this up here as kind of demonstration, and I am going to add two of these. So when I'm using this particular post assembly, I'm going to get two corner connectors for every corner post that is using that particular assembly. So this just allows you to get two of these. And you can have a separate one for your regular post that maybe you just have one connector or one sort of bracket or whatever it is that you use for regular post. And then for your corner post, you can have two of these set up. So this is just an additional tool that you have to dial in these post assemblies and kind of get all the things that you need just by selecting that one post assembly. You can get all these different materials and they can be conditional. So you can get something special with, in this case, the corner post, or it could be your jam post, or it could be just your regular post. Um, yeah, so I think that's pretty much it for that. We'll go into the job and we'll see how this works. Um, the other thing to point out here that is new that's related to this is this usage override right here. And so as part of this particular entry into this post assembly where I'm adding in this corner connector, this RTC corner connector, um, you can select the type. And so in this case, I selected other. So this is, you can kind of go basically from roof down to the post base, top of the post, and you can have some different usages, categories of these materials. In this case, I selected other. And so you can select other for these various types of materials. And the thing that is new here is that once you select other, if I select something else like a top of post, you'll see a little bit of a change there. If I go back to other, um, it's going to now give you this usage override option. And this is where I put in this corner connector. And what this is going to do is once we get into a job, when you see this get applied, these conditions are met. If we're selecting this post assembly and it adds this in the material list for the usage, it's now going to show corner connector. What it used to show or what it is showing right now on your site is going to be just other. If you're using the other, now you have the ability to override this, basically that text, and that will run through into your material list. So it gives you this additional tool here to kind of customize what these materials get called out as on your material list. And we'll see that in a job as well. And I'll cancel here. And so that's really true of any of these different types of materials. I did that down here with the labor as well. I used other, but I picked the output category of labor. When I went into this particular material, you can go into your different categories of materials and pick whatever you want. If you're using other now, you can kind of override that as well. So I think that's all we're going to get into with this here. These are the new things for this version coming out. Again, there's a video that gets more deeply into these post assemblies that you can go into. I'm going to hit cancel. You'll notice that I do also have something set up for a 4-ply with a permacolumn type product. Very similar. I think I just have some different types of a different lower post being used and a little bit maybe different labor potentially or different connectors even possibly. So those are the kind of things you can do here. And the reason it's going to be kind of important that I have a 3-ply and a 4-ply is because I'm going to jump into the next kind of group of changes that are connected here related to the span tables. So one of the cool things about these post assemblies as well is that you can use your post assemblies as an option um, for your span tables. And so I don't have any right now for my Eve post, but you can go into any of these materials where you set up your span tables, based on these different factors to pick specific products. You will find that those particular post assemblies are also options here. So you can pick post assemblies as part of your span tables. And so, kind of automating that to another level, you can have all those different types of things set up in your post assemblies, but you can also have these just be automatically applied based on the loading and the wall heights and your post spacing. So you can kind of automate that all the way down to the level of using these post assemblies. But what I wanted to get into today that we can kind of demonstrate here, couple new things here in the span tables. And really, those are going to be related to um, just the gable jam post in this case. So one of the things that's new here that I didn't get too deeply into for the demonstration is that you can now use the building depth. It's a little confusing because it's kind of a generic term, but really this is going to be the building width. So you can use that building width if you need to in order to pick different gable jam post materials. And this is just a new column. There are all these other columns here are available right now. The new thing here is that you can use this building depth as a factor. The other new thing that probably is going to be a little bit easier to see once we get into a job is, and we already have this for just your regular gable post span tables, and that is, and we'll see this in a job, but there's a setting that um, basically will consider each jam post separately when it's looking at the span tables. So if you're using the span tables to determine your gable post materials, it's going to come look in here and it is going to consider the height of each individual gable jam post in order to pick this product. So you have an option where you can either basically use like the worst case scenario post, and then I want all my gable posts just to be the same kind of worst case post, or you can turn that off and it will consider each individual gable post. And based on these span tables, it'll pick the material based on the height of the individual post. And that is in the software right now that you're using. What's new here is that now the jam post. So for your openings, you're going to get that same type of behavior if you want to. So let's see, those, I believe, yeah, those are going to be the two new things here. There's a couple other things we'll look at in the job, but those are the things here in the settings. And it's really just for these gable jam post, having the width, the building width is an option, and then also that ability to look at individual jam posts if you want to do that. Yeah, I think that's going to be everything here in the settings that I wanted to go over, just so you're aware of how those are getting set up. If you do have additional questions, you can contact support and we can go through this and go through some more stuff. Just want to let you know about these things, let you know how those work. And then at the end as well, you can pop in with any more questions. We can go over those in a little bit more detail if you need to. Um, yeah, so I'm going to pop back here to the home page. I have this job set up to demonstrate some of this here. We'll just open this up. Um, and yeah, we'll look at some of those things in action, plus quite a few other things that will be better demonstrated here in a job. So this is going to load up this job with all our materials, all our settings, our 3D model here. Okay, so I have this 3D model set up. Maybe while this is fresh in our heads, we'll take a look at these posts. So if I go into the details here and I go into the wall framing, I am connecting these to my span table using this auto. Now you can select just any product, like we could just select a 3-ply 2x6 and LM kind of post, but you can also select these post assemblies, which those are shown down here, which I think I renamed this one actually. It's coming through a little bit different, but you can select post assemblies just as your post material, but like we saw there, you can also have these set up um, as auto, which actually I'm not using those for my Eve posts. So those are just coming in here, but I am using that for our corner post, which we looked at specifically there. So these corner posts are coming through here with the post assemblies. And this gets a little bit confusing. I just kind of realized here, but just the corner posts, I believe here are using the post assemblies through the span tables. The regular posts are just pulling in from my span table, from my Eve post span tables, which I'm not using the assembly. So a little bit confusing, but you can see here, if we look here in the 3D model, that you can see this permacolumn product coming in here. So I have this lower post permacolumn, and I actually have those selected for my main post as well. Though there's a couple things here we'll go over here. So you can see with that post assembly, it is bringing in a two-part post here, one being the permacolumn. And then if we jump back in here into the job review, those permacolumns are coming through as a material, and that's that 5-foot material that I had set up for my lower post. And then these other things here with the accessories, there's quite a few things that are coming in here that we looked at. I had some of that optional hold downs that are being triggered. And then the one that we looked at specifically here is this corner column, this corner connector. And you'll see the usage is coming in here as that corner connector that I typed in. So instead of other now, it is showing that corner connector. And it is bringing in those quantities, and it is figuring these for the 4 corner posts, is bringing 2 of those coming in here. So that little bit more confusing, I realized, than I kind of wanted it to be here, but basically we're just using those through the span tables as post assemblies for the corner posts are coming in. But then also if you do those without the span tables, if you just pick those, or if you, yeah, I guess actually these must be using those as well. So you can pick those a couple different ways. You can pick those straight, or you can use those through your span tables, and those will bring in all those different parts and pieces from the post assemblies. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. And there's a lot going on here because there's a couple other things here. Again, if we look at these jam posts, um, those are also the thing that triggers whether that is using looking at individual posts on the gable walls through those span tables, if it's looking at the heights of these individually, or if it's just using a single material for all of the posts on your gable wall, is going to be this checkbox here. When this is checked, it is going to be using a single post product for your gable walls. If it's unchecked like it is right now, it's going to be looking at the individual heights of these posts when you're using your span tables for your gable post, and now also for your jam post for structural openings on your gable walls. So I have that unchecked. It's going to be looking at those the different lengths for those individually and picking those. And we won't go take a look at those too deeply because it just gets to be a little bit much. But take my word for it, that is how that works. So if you want them individually, you want this unchecked. If you wanted to use kind of the worst case for all of them, you want that to be checked. Yeah, so those are kind of those things that we looked at in the setting, how those are going to be applied in the job itself, along with that custom usage override. Okay, so we have a couple other things here to kind of make this even more things going on here. And one of those, I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of this because it is a change, is that in this case, we'll take a look here at this header high here. So you'll notice I have this, what we call a header high. It's just a header running all the way across from this corner post to this on center post here. And in this case, I use this for a window. And so I'm going to pop into the door and window settings because we have a couple changes here. And we do have structural and non-structural settings for walk doors. And actually, one of the new things that we're adding in here is we now have non-structural and structural for overhead door settings as well. So for your overhead doors, you can have different settings for a structural type situation and a non-structural situation. And we'll look at that a little bit more later. The same thing's going to apply here for structural windows and overhead doors. But in this case, I'm using a window here to trigger this header high. And so if we take a look here, I'm just saying yes for the structural window post framing settings. And I'm using this header high material here. And so the reason that this is being triggered right now is because I did cut into a structural post here with this opening. And so because I have the set the yes as header high, I have this web header type material set up as my header high material. I am getting this as a result. And that is not new. But what is new is that we have a change here that is just globally in this situation where header high is running into a corner post, that it is using, it's just going to be, it's going to place this into the eave wall. So a lot of things kind of happening here, and we can help you with this. But you do have an option of placing your corner post either into the gable walls or the eave walls. And that is going to affect, if you're using your span tables, which span table it's going to use to determine what that corner post is. And typically you're going to have kind of beefier post in your eave walls as opposed to your gable walls. And so I have corner post actually being placed in the gable walls. And this might be easier to show here with the drawings. So if we look at, let's take a look at this gable wall real quick. Um, One of these posts in the corner is not being shown in this gable wall. This one is being shown in the gable wall. This is getting back to our corner post using those assemblies with our permacolumn here. This is the opposite corner here. If we go back to this view, you can see here's that window that's using that header high. If we go and take a look at that particular opening, you can see here that this corner post is just automatically being placed in this eave wall because we have this header high situation. And you can see the opposite end here because I have this set the gable wall. These corner posts are typically going to be in the gable wall, but in this case, they are being placed in the eave wall, and therefore they're going to be looking at the eave wall span tables actually to be placing these. And that does get a little, it is complex. Um, but I just wanted people to be aware that this is going to be happening actually globally. Like if you have a header high running into a corner post, it's going to be placing that into the eave wall. And if you're using span tables, it's that will mean it's going to be looking at the eave span table in order to place these gable or this corner post. So FYI, I guess we can talk about that a little bit more. It is a little complex, but that is how that's going to be working coming up here. Um, so a couple more things here that some more options. You know, a little bit of a double-edged sword here, where we have quite a few options. And in a setting like this, it's a little bit difficult to make it easy to understand these, but when you have the specific way that you do things and the way that you want to do it, you know, you can just get this set up so that it works for you. So these are some more options for you to use, and we can help you get it set up the way that you want it to be set up. It's a little bit harder when it's kind of different people are doing it different ways. Um, but a couple more options here related to these new group of settings around structural and non-structural overhead doors, and specifically related to these gable walls and the gable openings. And that is going to be this setting right here. This is going to be a new setting to where you have an option for your gable openings to either have the program kind of figure out if these are going to be structural, or you can say, yes, I always want my gable openings to be structural. So if you say yes, it's going to be considering these as structural no matter what, whether they cut through a post or if they're in between a post bay. You're going to get you're going to be using these structural overhead door post framing settings in order to get your framing for those openings. Or you can say, no, I don't want my gable openings to use these structural overhead door settings. I instead wanted to use the non-structural settings. So there's two totally separate groups of settings, though you can link them, as you'll see in a second here, for structural and non-structural, and you have the option to either let the program figure it out or say yes or no. And if the program figures it out, basically, if it's in between a post bay, like in this particular case, and that's how this is set up right now, actually. And you can see that one of the differences here is I have these jam posts, 2-ply for my structural. And so this one's in between these two posts that are coming through based on the spacing. And I'm getting one jam post over here. This one's cutting through a post, and therefore it's automatically structural because I have auto here, and I'm getting these two jam post plies. So some more options there to kind of dial in how you want these to automate and get the correct jam post materials, and really any of these other, the headers, and all these other settings that you can turn to get your framing for either structural or non-structural. So if I pull down these non-structural, outside of that question we just looked at, these are all going to be the same. You can have these to be match structural overhead door, and that's actually the way it's going to come through as a default. So you shouldn't see any changes. That is a principle we like to try to use, though this one exception is going to be this corner post being in the eave wall. But otherwise, there won't be any changes here, and you can kind of opt into these. And you don't have to do them right away. So you can kind of keep these in the back burner, and we can help you address these in the future as well. So these are going to come through as match structural overhead door. So you should see the same thing. It shouldn't be any changes when you open it up. But if you do want to get into this, you can. You can have some different types of settings here for structural and non-structural. And these settings here are going to apply to your eave walls as well. Not this gable openings specifically, but you can have separate structural versus non-structural openings in your eave wall settings. Those will apply to your eave wall. Okay, kind of a lot going on there. A lot going on with the structural, the non-structural, the span tables, and the post assemblies. But I think that's pretty much everything I'm going to get into for those. We do have some more things going on here. So changing gears a little bit here. One thing here specifically related to roof framing, you'll see I have these parallel cord trusses being used. So that is an option that you can use. The one thing that we've added that's new here that we've had quite a few people ask about is this Match PCT Depth. So this is new, this particular setting in this checkbox. And basically what that means is when this is checked, it's going to go look into the truss catalog, and whatever truss that it's going to pull out of the catalog, it's just going to use the PCT depth, this parallel cord truss depth, based on what it finds in the catalog. As opposed to when this is unchecked, which right now that's how this works. You have to put in a PCT depth per job, basically. You can have a default setup. But so right now it's going to look for this 1 foot PCT depth, which I don't have in my truss catalog. But if I check this on, it's going to go look at all the other factors, the width, the span of this truss and the loading, and it's going to find the first truss and it's going to put in the PCT depth that it finds there. So I do have one of those in my catalog. And if we jump over here, that is going to be a 1'6" is what I have in my catalog. So you can kind of hide this PCT depth if you need to, and just turn this on, and you can hide this as well. And then it's just going to use whatever it finds in the catalog. And you don't really have to worry about this PCT depth. If you have people who are using this, but they don't necessarily know what the depth is supposed to be based on the loading and the different spans and things, you can set that up now again to be automated. So if you do use these and you want to automate that, there's another option here for you. Similar to what we do with the truss heel heights, that is something that's already in the software that you have. You can have it to where it will match the heel height of what's coming out of your catalog. You don't have to know what to put in here. It's just going to pick it. And if you want, you can hide these. You can get rid of these here, and then these won't even be options that people are having, designers or sales people potentially have. Okay, a couple more things here. A lot of stuff kind of going on in here. But the other option that we have here, this is going to be in wall framing. So jump over to wall framing. We have these gable wall styles where there's balloon frame. You can do gable truss. where it's just going to put in a gable truss here, which is what I have here. We have this gable truss short post where it'll cut the post at the bottom of the gable. And then you can inset this gable truss, and then you can inset it and also cut them short. So we have some different options here. The new thing, those things are not new, but the new thing is that you can have a different gable wall style for your front and your back gable wall. And so as you can see here, I have this as a truss for the front, and then I have balloon frame for the back. So the balloon frame is just running these posts all the way up. There's no truss here. And it is going to add in an end rafter material here, in this case, just automatically. So if you have balloon frame, before we're leaving that end rafter out, but now that is just going to automatically come in. And that's going to be over in these rafter settings. And so let's see, where is that guy? Here it is. So I have that as a 2x4 material. You can set that to none. If you are using balloon frame, be aware. I get this is another change that I think is just going to happen to you. Except you can't set this to none. So you might have to mess around with that if you don't want that end rafter there. But that's going to come in automatically. You'll get an end rafter there. And you can have different types of these gable walls for the front and the back. And that applies to attached buildings as well. And one thing to note on all these things that we've been talking about, just to give you some more power and more control here, is you can go into advanced edit and you can override, I think, pretty much anything that we've been talking about here, even with the, the structural, non-structural openings, even post-assembly materials and different things in the advanced edit per wall and even per opening. So you could potentially have structural and non-structural openings on for different openings on individual walls, or you can override this for all walls. I think we might actually have gone through everything here. Let me check my notes for a second. Yes. So we had quite a few bug fixes as well. There's a list of those that we sent out. So you might see some things on there that you wanted to get fixed. If you don't, again, report those to us and to support. But yeah, I've kind of used quite a bit of time. There's a lot of different things that we did here, and a lot of them are kind of complicated, but we can help you with these. And again, once these come out, you shouldn't see a lot of changes, and a lot of these you can opt into, and we can help you with that. Okay, so I'm going to end it right there, and then we'll open it up here. We officially have about 10 more minutes, and then we can also hang around longer and answer any questions. So I will turn this over to anybody at Smartbuild. If there's anything else you think that should be mentioned, feel free to jump in. Otherwise, maybe Paul, if anything came through in the chat that we want to just get into.
Nothing in the chat, but I don't know if you had actually said this, but the post assemblies are a great way to get rid of the packages. A lot of people have kind of complicated packages for their posts, and this kind of streamlines all of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. You can use the post assemblies to replace and get rid of some of these packages. And then you can kind of automate all that just by either using the span tables or just picking a post assembly and without having to worry about the packages that can replace that. And you can do that over time as well. That's a good point.
And if anybody wants to unmute, you could just chime in now. questions. This was pretty complicated, so it's probably hard to even come up with a question yet until you start using it.
Yeah. And there is a separate video, again, for specifically for the post assemblies. And it goes into more detail and some common ways to use these.
We might want to also suggest, we usually do record these webinars, but this go-to meeting, they've changed their setup a little bit, and we've been having trouble converting the recordings to be available on YouTube. So this recording may not be up on YouTube. There's just some kind of proprietary software that they're just kind of locked it all down. So you can refer to Royden's webinar or recording up on YouTube for more information on this.
For the post assemblies.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be able to get that video. Did the last one get up there, Paul? Do you know?
I don't think so. That would be Suzanne who posts. She's the admin for the YouTube site. I've given her several different versions, like MP4, YouTube, optimized, and all these other types, and they just won't upload to YouTube anymore. So
Okay.
something is different.
I'll
The
check.
last webinars we've had have been having troubles.
Okay. That's unfortunate. All right. Anything else? Any questions about anything?
Brandon just popped in on the chat, off topic from today, but is there a future update that will allow 2 attached buildings on one side? For instance, I have a wraparound porch from eave to a portion of the gable and would also like to put an awning or eyebrow over the gable garage door. As of now, it will not allow me to do both.
So is the overlapping, like 2 buildings that are overlapping?
I'm not quite sure. If you want to explain a little bit further, Brandon. I see that you have a wraparound porch from eave to a portion of the gable, and is the wraparound porch also covering where the garage door is? Because you can't overlap 2 attached buildings, but you should be able to put an attached building 2 on one side.
So Paul, it may be that he's not seeing the custom button. Some people overlook that.
Oh.
With porch, when you select porch custom.
Yeah.
So if you do that,
well, right now you've got the lean-to porch going across the whole front of the building there, or the back of the building. You would have to shorten that building to start at 15 or something.
But you could theoretically place it like up here too.
I'm not sure. I don't think we allow
Yeah, so
that.
Sean, if you shorten the front one there or the back building, start at 15 or something, and then you can add another custom porch starting at 0. Some people overlook that or not.
Yeah, Brandon says not overlapping. Let's say he has a 40-foot wide barn and the wraparound porch comes 16 across, then you would like to put an awning over a garage door. Kind of like what you have here, but sort of.
Yeah, so now if you go to porch
So
or awning, you can do custom and you can add another one on the front. But if you try to use the full length, it gives you an error.
Yeah. So you can go from 0 to 15 or 0 to 10.
but it wouldn't let me do it with 8. So once it starts to overlap this one, though, it's not going to let us do
Right.
it, right? So
Right.
if I do this at 16,
But you can you
then
can always place it, Sean, and then make it longer.
oh, okay. So let's see here. I'm not going to look at these settings too much, but if we place this, so once you place it,
Brandon
then you can make it longer.
Brandon did say he did overlook that custom feature, so that at least we were able to teach him a little bit.
Okay, yeah, and you could also put one just over the top of this opening using that custom too. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, appreciate your time. Appreciate you using Smartbuild. We will be back and do this again here in few weeks, probably 4 to 5 weeks. And then again, this will be released early next week, and we'll let you know once it gets released. But thank you. Thanks for your time.